swing at my brother Marcus's mansion. Crystal glasses clinked, designer shoes clicked against marble floors, and the air was thick with the particular brand of superiority that only old money can buy. I stood in a corner of the grand living room, nursing a glass of champagne and watching my relatives parade their achievements like peacocks. My small bookstore, The Written Path, had just celebrated its 5th anniversary, but here among investment bankers and corporate lawyers, that meant nothing. "Oh, look who finally showed up," Marcus's voice carried across the room. "My little sister, what are you calling yourself these days? Small business owner." He approached with his usual entourage, our cousin Peter from Goldman Sachs, his wife Sophia who ran a fashion empire, and several other relatives who'd made it in the corporate world. Their Rolex watches and Gucci suits seemed to gleam under the chandelier light. "The bookstore's doing well actually," I said, straightening my simple black dress. "We just opened our online rare books division." Marcus threw his head back and laughed. "Rare books? How quaint. Peter and I just closed a deal worth more than your entire store's decade of revenue." "The Morton Phillips merger," Peter added, swirling his expensive scotch. "Biggest deal of the year. But I'm sure selling used books is fulfilling." I bit back a smile. If they only knew that their precious merger hadn't actually closed yet. That it was currently sitting on my desk, awaiting approval from someone they'd never bothered to investigate. "Speaking of the merger," Marcus continued, "we're celebrating its completion tonight. Dad's especially proud, says it'll put Andersen Consulting back on top." Our father, William Andersen, had built Andersen Consulting from nothing 30 years ago. But recently the firm had been struggling, and this merger was supposed to be their salvation. "Just a tiny shop owner," Marcus smirked at his audience. "While we're reshaping industries, Olivia here is probably organizing reading circles for kids." More laughter. I took another sip of champagne, checking my watch. Any minute now. Right on cue, phones started buzzing around the room. Marcus frowned as he checked his message. Peter's face suddenly lost its smugness. "This can't be right," Peter muttered, frantically typing on his phone. "The merger. It's being held up?" Marcus grabbed his own phone, his hands shaking slightly. "Who the hell is Andersen Enterprises? They're claiming controlling interest in Morton Phillips." "Impossible," our father's voice boomed as he strode into the room, his face red with anger. "Who would dare interfere with our deal?" I set down my champagne glass and pulled out my phone as it rang. Putting it on speaker, I answered, "Yes, David?" "Ms. Andersen." My CFO's voice filled the suddenly quiet room. "The Morton Phillips board is requesting an urgent meeting with Andersen Enterprises CEO regarding the merger approval. Should I inform them you're available tomorrow morning?" The crystal glass in Marcus's hand slipped, shattering against the marble floor. Peter's mouth hung open. My father stopped mid-stride, staring at me as if seeing me for the first time. "Yes, David," I replied calmly. "Set the meeting for 9 a.m. And please send over the complete portfolio of our holdings in their subsidiaries. I think it's time for full transparency." "Of course, Ms. Andersen. Will you be wanting the reports on the other 17 companies we acquired last quarter as well?" "That won't be necessary right now," I said, enjoying the way my relatives' faces grew increasingly pale. "Just the Morton Phillips files." As I ended the call, Marcus stepped forward, his designer shoes crunching on broken crystal. "Olivia, what have you done?" I smiled, remembering all the family dinners where they'd dismissed me, all the reunions where they'd treated me like a failure. "Done? Oh, brother dear, I haven't even started yet. You see that tiny shop of mine? It's just a hobby. My real business might be a bit more substantial." The room had gone completely silent, all eyes fixed on me as I walked toward the door. I should go prepare for tomorrow's meeting. After all, I paused, looking back at their shocked faces. It's not every day you need your little sister's signature to save your billion-dollar deal. As I left, I heard my father's heavy footsteps following me. The night was about to get very interesting indeed. My father caught up with me in the mansion's marble foyer, his Italian leather shoes echoing against the floor. "Stop right there, young lady." I turned slowly, savoring the moment. Gone was his usual commanding presence, replaced by something I'd never seen before: uncertainty. "Yes, Dad." I kept my voice neutral, professional. The way he taught us to speak in business situations, though he'd only ever expected Marcus to use those lessons. Anderson Enterprises. That's impossible. I would have known. Our intelligence team would have flagged any new major player in the market. I pulled out my tablet, pulling up a complex web of shell companies and subsidiaries. Would they have flagged Brighton Holdings? Or perhaps Meridian Ventures? New Century Capital? His face paled as he recognized the names. Those are some of our biggest silent investors. We're some of your biggest investors, I corrected. Now they're all under one umbrella. Anderson Enterprises. My umbrella. Marcus burst into the foyer, his perfect hair now disheveled. The board is going crazy. Morton Phillips is threatening to pull out completely if we don't resolve this by tomorrow. Then I suggest you both join me in my office, I said, checking my watch. The real one, not the bookstore. 20 minutes later, our town car pulled up to a gleaming skyscraper downtown. Marcus's jaw dropped as we walked through the lobby, where Anderson Enterprises sparkled in gold letters on the wall. Impossible, he muttered. This building, it was bought 6 months ago by me, I finished, scanning my keycard for the private elevator. Along with the rest of this block. The elevator opened directly into my penthouse office suite. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city, and multiple screens displayed real-time market data from around the world. David, my CFO, was waiting with a stack of folders. Ms. Anderson, I've prepared the complete breakdown of our Morton Phillips holdings. Also, Tokyo is on line 3 regarding the Asian market expansion. Thank you, David. Please hold all calls for now. Family meeting. As David left, I gestured to the leather chairs in front of my desk. My father and brother sat down, looking very much like chastised schoolboys. For the past 5 years, I began, while you were mocking my tiny shop, I was building this. Every time you bragged about your deals at family gatherings, I was quietly acquiring shares in your target companies. That bookstore? It's where I go to think, to plan, to remember why I started this in the first place. I pulled up more documents on the main screen. You see, Dad, when you decided Marcus would inherit Anderson Consulting, you forgot one thing. You taught me everything you knew first. Before Marcus was even out of college, I was learning at your knee. The difference is I was actually paying attention. But the money, Marcus protested. This kind of empire would take billions. Remember that tech startup you laughed at me for investing in 8 years ago? The one you said was cute? It was bought by Google for $3 billion. That was just the beginning. My father leaned forward, his business instincts finally kicking in. How much? How much do you want for the Morton Phillips shares? I laughed, the sound echoing through my office. You still don't get it, do you? This isn't about money. This is about respect. Recognition. Things you never thought I deserved. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. Tomorrow morning, the business world is going to learn who really controls Anderson Enterprises. Every major financial publication has the story ready to go. Your merger isn't the only thing that needs my approval. What do you mean? Marcus's voice cracked. I turned back to them, feeling the weight of years of dismissal and underestimation lift from my shoulders. Anderson Consulting? Check your ownership records. You might find some interesting changes there too. The color drained from both their faces as they frantically pulled out their phones, discovering what I'd known for months. Their company wasn't really theirs anymore. Now, I said, sitting back down at my desk, shall we discuss terms? The morning sun streamed through the windows of my office as I watched my father and brother process the reality of their situation. Marcus had loosened his tie, his usual smugness replaced by quiet desperation. Our father sat perfectly still, his years of business experience finally allowing him to understand the complete scope of what I'd accomplished. The Morton Phillips board will be here in 20 minutes, I said, checking my watch. Before they arrive, let me be clear about what happens next. I pressed a button on my desk and the screens around us lit up with different company logos, all the businesses I'd quietly acquired over the years. Anderson Consulting will be absorbed into Anderson Enterprises, I continued. The name stays but the leadership changes. Completely. You're taking everything, Marcus whispered. Everything Dad built. No, I corrected him. I'm taking what I built. While you were playing corporate prince, I was creating something bigger than Dad ever imagined. My phone buzzed, a text from David, Morton Phillips board in the lobby. Also, Wall Street Journal wants to confirm the interview time for your Business Leader of the Year profile. I smiled, remembering how many times my family had fawned over Marcus's small features in business magazines. Send them up, I replied. Before they arrive, my father finally spoke, his voice heavy with realization. Tell me one thing. How did none of us see this coming? I leaned back in my chair, thinking about all the family events where they'd ignored me, all the business discussions they'd excluded me from. You saw what you wanted to see, I answered. A little girl playing shopkeeper with her bookstore. You never bothered to look deeper to question why that tiny shop had a state-of-the-art security system, or why business leaders often visited to buy books. The rare book division? It's real, but it's also where I hold my most sensitive meetings. Who would suspect? The elevator chimed and David led in the Morton Phillips board members. Their eyes widened as they recognized my father and brother sitting there like chastised schoolchildren. Good morning, I stood to greet them. I believe we have a merger to discuss. 2 hours later I stood at my window again, but this time alone. The merger had been approved on my terms. Anderson Consulting would be restructured with a new board that I would personally select. Marcus would keep his job, but with significant oversight and reduced authority. My phone buzzed again, a message from our mother. Just saw the news. Why didn't you tell me? I thought back to all the family dinners where she'd sided with Dad and Marcus, all the time she'd suggested I find a nice man and settle down instead of playing with that little bookshop. Watch tomorrow's financial news, I texted back. There's more coming. David entered with a fresh stack of documents. The press releases are ready. Want me to start spreading the word about the other acquisitions? Yes, I nodded. It's time everyone knew who they've been dealing with. By evening, my office had become a revolving door of shocked family members. Cousins who'd mocked my small business discovered their companies were now under my control. Aunts and uncles who'd dismissed me at family gatherings learned their investment portfolios were tied to my decisions. As the sun set over the city, I visited my bookstore. Among the shelves of rare first editions and vintage classics, I found the piece that the corporate world could never provide. A copy of Pride and Prejudice caught my eye. Elizabeth Bennet, another underestimated woman who proved her worth. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Marcus. I understand now. I'm sorry. Can we talk? I picked up the book, running my fingers over its leather binding. Tomorrow, I replied. Family dinner at my place. Bring Dad. And Marcus? Dress casual. The billions we'll be discussing don't require a tie. Standing there, surrounded by books and the subtle scent of success, I smiled. Sometimes the smallest businesses hide the biggest secrets, and the most dismissed people hold the most power. Tomorrow, the business world would wake up to headlines about the mysterious CEO of Anderson Enterprises. But tonight, in my tiny shop, I was simply Olivia,